the same outfit, so you would not know that it's a different day.
I think I might be wearing the same shirt. I picked it out and I was wearing it today and I was like, this is
We should do that.
Our viewers are very discerning.
Yes.
There you go.
The comment section is going to be
All
rife.
7 of them.
Hey, we actually have people who are now commenting on a regular basis outside of Lobster Jesus.
Oh, there you go. That's our friend Scott.
Oh, okay.
Everybody good to
I don't
go?
know if I've commented yet.
Good to go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Ed Academy. I'm Darryl.
I'm Laura.
And we have our returning guest to finish out 2016. Say hello, sir.
That's me, Alex.
All right. So we've done part 1. Went over Bridge Spies, Mad Max, Spotlight, and Room. Laura, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about The Big Short, Brooklyn, The Martian, and The Revenant.
Yes. So we went through some of the other significant ones last time. Just going to throw this out there. Mr. Wright, one of my favorites, Man from U.N.C.L.E., one of yours. Sicario, something I do want to come back to when we talk about what deserves to be in. So remember that one. But otherwise, let's dive in with Brooklyn. Brooklyn, directed by John Crowley, written by Nick Hornby, based on the 2000 novel by Colm Tiobin. That's a Gaelic pronunciation that I've totally butchered. Stars Saoirse Ronan with Emery Cohen, Domhnall Gleeson, Jim Broadbent, and Julie Walters. Nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress for Saoirse, and Adapted Screenplay for Nick Hornby. Did not win anything. Go ahead.
All right, the summary. An Irish immigrant lands in 1950s Brooklyn, where she quickly falls into a romance with a local. When her past catches up with her, however, she must choose between 2 countries and the lives that exist within. Sounds fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple of fun facts. Rooney Mara was actually the original lead, but due to some production delays, they wanted Saoirse Ronan, but she was too young at the time that they started. Because of production delays, by the time they were actually ready to film, she was old enough and aged appropriately for the character.
Huh.
And then also, Emery Cohen, who played Tony, was the only American on set because they had a whole bunch of folks from Ireland, from the UK, and they were filming in Montreal.
That was my next question.
Yes, so they filmed in Montreal because they had all of the old buildings that could have passed for 1950s Brooklyn, and it was such a tight budget that they weren't able to do it in Brooklyn itself.
Yeah, this is a small little indie film. All right, I'm going to start off with not such love for this, and here's why. I had thought I have never seen it before, and a third of the way in I went, all right, I have seen this, which is not a good thing for the film. So that's where I'm going to start.
Right. I'm going to finish because I actually, Colm Tobin is one of my favorite writers, and I've read all of his stuff, and so I have a relationship to the book and to the movie, so I'm going to let you go, Alex.
Okay, speaking of books, Nick Hornby, that's Nick Hornby of High Fidelity
Yes.
fame. Okay, cool. This is just a quick encapsulation of how we felt.
Yes. Yep, go for it.
I came in with very low expectations. When I saw the trailer, I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be some Hallmark card thing. I was pleasantly surprised. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I'm just gonna go on with my overall. It was a little jarring because it is different than the novel.
Okay.
So, and especially the ending is different than the novel, in that in the end of the book, the same basic things happen, but she gets in a cab and goes back to Brooklyn because she wants to return to Brooklyn and the life that she has built there and away from this cloying neighborhood in Ireland. Whether or not she's getting back with Tony is up for a question mark.
Oh, okay.
And so in this, it was a happy ever after romance that she returned to Tony. And so it was a little bit different and a little jarring for me. I liked it better when it was more internal and about her and her choices than about him and her returning to him.
So the essential story here is it's a juxtaposition for her of the old school life that she had in Ireland that she was purposefully leaving because she didn't like it, discovering America, not enjoying it for the first year, then really starting to really enjoy it, going back, seeing a different side of Ireland, and then so it's a build up to the big question of which is she going to choose, which is more important to her now at this moment in her life.
disagree with the first premise because she didn't want to leave Ireland. Her sister set up the gig. Her sister knew she was dying and was afraid she would be stuck with her mother and stuck in a dead-end life. And so her sister forced her to America.
Right.
Okay.
So that whole thing has started. She was very happy and content in her little Irish world,
Okay.
working for the nasty lady at the clerk.
Okay.
So that's the only thing I would say is it was the world that was created for her, and did she want that or to return?
That's good. That's a good point, because that also kind of puts it in terms of these different timelines where it's like, it complicates her relationship with Donald Gleason's character, because that is the perfect life for the old version of her.
Exactly. That's what she wanted.
That's what she wanted initially.
Yes, and so when it's presented to her, the life that she wanted at one point in her life versus the life that she's built for her that she never dreamt of.
Here's Prince Charming.
Yes.
So the big question for me, which I think is the question that the movie is asking, is would she have stayed in Ireland? And she chose obviously not to, both in the book and the movie. She goes back. My question becomes, because of the way the film has set it up, when the reveal of her already being married by the busybody gossip, she latches onto that as something she could come back at her with and embraces that fully in that moment. My question is, if she hadn't been married, would she have gone back? Would she have stayed? And I don't think the film concretely sets it up one way or the other, which is fine, but I would have, because it was such a build to that moment, I would have liked some sort of direction to have happened, if that makes sense.
That seems like a good point to say, how does the book handle that?
Same? So the book handles it about the same,
Okay.
but I think her comment is very meaningful when she says to the woman, "I forgot." Meaning, I think the audience is thinking that she's going to say, "I forgot Tony. I forgot I was married. I forgot the life I left behind."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, I forgot how terrible this place
Yes.
is." So I think that she would have ended up choosing New York one way or the other.
Okay.
But would she have gotten trapped in a marriage and not been able to choose that if she ended up with a guy in Ireland? So I think it's all about sliding doors of life, of, where are you, in what moment, what choices are made available to you, because, the nice guy in Ireland was not available to her before she left.
Right. And I'm not coming down harshly on this movie. I'm really not. For what it attempted to do, I think it was perfect. Everybody is very well cast. They knew their assignments, as you like to say. I don't think there's a bad actor in the bunch. I just question kind of the overall presentation of the story with the idea that these choices need to be made. I don't know if it was founded enough for me when choices are made that I can buy into the choices.
Okay, nope, that's fair.
Key phrase there, I think, is you said something to the effect of like doing what it sets out to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't think, a particularly intellectually or emotionally ambitious movie.
No.
And I think it is kind of a weird choice for Best Picture. I loved it for what it was.
I would agree with that. I think her Best Actress nomination was absolutely well deserved.
She's the best.
And she was the best. One thing I liked that I think elevated it over just kind of a Hallmark movie is the cinematography of,
Yeah.
so it's three different movies tonally. You've got, or maybe just the way it's presented. You've got the first part in Ireland is drab and brown and earth colors. And then you've got Brooklyn, which is everybody is bright and wearing lipstick behind the counter. And, it's all very bright, shiny, new. And then the third part is the same drab Ireland, and she's in bright colors. And she brings the lightness. So there's also a piece of it of she might be okay anywhere she lands because she's changed internally.
And also, when she does go back, they focus a little bit more on the greener side of Ireland.
Yes.
So it's not quite as drab and dreary, and I think that's intentional. It's
Yeah.
the perception of what she's seeing now.
Exactly.
So all of that I thought was handled very, very well. Like the tone that it wanted to set, it definitely achieved and supported what her character was going through at that moment. Everybody was on their game. I just wasn't a huge fan of the setup of the story.
All of this just reinforces my belief that there should be a separate award called like the Niceys. It's not the Oscars, that it's just like, that movie was very solid, it set out to do a thing, and it succeeded.
Exactly. I'm just going to draw one more line out of the, or one more storyline out of this movie because we watched Spotlight last time. Very negative view of the church, and now you've got look at the view of the church in this movie. I mean, they created her life. They were there for her struggles. They were, kind of when she was sad. The church put her through classes to kind of make her be less homesick. They are the ones that were sitting with her when her sister died. It was very interesting the role the church played in both of these movies, watching them in the same year.
Yeah, it's almost jarring in light of Spotlight.
Right.
The father figure is supportive. He's her support system.
Kind and changes her life.
The big difference is this movie, when it comes to religion, focuses on individuals. Whereas Spotlight was the cover-up and, obviously the individuals who committed the deeds, but it's more the church, whereas this movie is more individuals representing religion.
Yes.
And I think it's a lot easier to present things in a positive light, or even a super negative light if you're just kind of focusing on one person.
Right.
But I do agree, it is absolutely in juxtaposition to what we saw in Spotlight. And it's just, this is a presentation of the good things that religion can do.
Exactly.
I don't really have a heck of a lot. It was fine. One of the big things, and we've talked about a bunch, for me, watching a movie is when I'm done, do I want my time back? And I absolutely do not, even having watched it and forgotten that I watched it.
Both times you didn't want your time back. Okay.
That's a huge metric, though. That's so important.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a huge metric.
Yeah. It was fun.
I love this movie. I don't necessarily think it is the Best Picture nominee.
No.
But I love this movie.
I agree with you.
All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to The Big Short. I have a feeling we're going to plus right through all of this pretty quickly.
Well, we'll see.
Big Short, directed by Adam McKay, from a screenplay by McKay and Charles Randolph, based on a 2010 book by Michael Lewis, stars Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, John Magaro, Finn Wittrock, Hamish Linklater, Rafe Spall, Jeremy Strong, and Marissa Tomei in supporting roles. Was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Supporting Actor for Bale, Adapted Screenplay, and Film Editing, and it did win Adapted Screenplay. Go with some stuff.
Okay, so the summary is, prior to the 2008 financial crisis, a group of investors bet against the U.S. mortgage market and are stunned by the corruption they uncover through their research.
That's the surface.
Sure. Okay. So a couple of fun facts. First of all, Margot Robbie said that she was drinking real champagne when she was in her bubble bath.
I heard that, actually.
Made it hard for her to remember all of her lines, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
And also Christian Bale, when he met the real life person that he was playing, he asked for an hour of his time, and the two of them actually spent 9 hours together talking about his experience. And Christian Bale asked, as he left, he asked for the gentleman's t-shirt and cargo pants and wore them in the movie. So... Christian Bale.
Method all the way.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's gonna do it.
All right.
I'll start out saying I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. This to me is what movies can do and do well, particularly with very complicated subject matter. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about information dumps, if they're necessary, do they help move things along, does it just feel like an information dump? This film knows it needs to give them to you and does it in very entertaining ways, which I thought was a brilliant choice. And here's Margot Robbie in a bubble bath. Here's Selena Gomez. When they had something super complex that you needed to understand, they presented that information as an information dump, but as its own little scene, so you'd be like, okay, that's what I need to know now to understand this next part. I thought it was incredibly clever like that.
I thought it was deadly dull. I hated this movie, and I thought all of its gimmicks were wildly pretentious and unnecessary.
All right, we are polar opposite.
And I'm totally going to split the difference on that. Totally get where it's going for. I love meta stuff. I love the fourth wall breaking stuff. It was a little hairier than it could have been, and it didn't keep my attention in the way, because it's long. It's north of 2 hours. I started zoning out a little bit somewhere around the second, third act.
All right, explain hairier. What do you mean by that?
Well, Adam McKay kind of thinks he's cleverer and tighter storyteller than he is.
Got it.
You put it in dialogue with Succession, right? You can't help that,
Okay.
McKay's just an executive producer on that, but that sensibility, that kind of tragic comedy, and this is what really happened. Or, you know, when you break the fourth wall, it's like the Steve Carell character, he really did this.
Yeah.
Here's Margot Robbie in a bubble bath. So, again, being a little unfair to it, in that I'm putting it up against what it probably could have been.
Instead of what it was.
But I appreciate it. I think there should be more movies that commit to that cleverness, because we're anti-clever now, like in our critical kind of discourse. I think people think that like cleverness equates to smugness.
Right.
And I don't want to view that movie through that lens.
Fair.
I will give you that the build up, you know, once they set the premise, then they investigate the premise being that all of these mortgages are going to eventually collapse. It's a corrupt system. Once they start placing the bets against that part where they're just kind of waiting for the inevitable is much longer than it needs to be.
Yeah.
It gets bogged down in the waiting. Like, they could have done some more investigative, maybe a little bit more explaining or something, but there's like a good solid 20 minutes of everybody just sitting around waiting for this thing to happen.
Fair.
And that is absolute fat that should have been cut out of this movie without a doubt. But I do still think that the core story that they're telling was told incredibly, incredibly well. And you had all of the necessary characters as well.
Mm-hmm.
You had the very bottom rung people who really want to be part of this. You have the people who have left and know it's a corrupt system. You have the people on the inside. You have the people on the outside. You have the people who are all but admitting to the corruption, but there's nothing they can do about it because it's the system. You have every single character necessary to tell a very complete and well-rounded story, rather than focus on just one character kind of going through and discovering things as they go. Would have been a vastly different movie.
I would watch this movie that you just described.
Single character?
No. Like, the way that you just described the movie is a movie I would watch.
Yeah.
I didn't get that in this movie.
Huh.
Like, the things that you saw, I didn't particularly see. The things that you're appreciating from that, like, I would like to see that movie. I would like to see the movie you saw, because it didn't hit me in the same way.
That's-
which is
ahead.
odd.
Yeah.
The one thing that did hit me, which is something that you both said, is I did appreciate the tone of the movie. It knew what its tone was, and it kept it consistent throughout, as far as that kind of comedy, winking but not smug.
Right. But that's important, though, because that tone matches the characters in the play. Everyone in that movie is the smartest person in the room.
Or thinks they are.
Or, right, not actually.
To themselves,
But,
they are.
Yeah, everyone is like, well, I'm going to get one over on the system.
Yeah.
I am curious why you and I have such vastly different takeaways from watching the same movie. I really am. Because normally, while we have absolutely disagreed, we usually disagree but understand that the movie that we saw. I think this is the first time we've ever been like, I saw a completely different movie than you did.
And I absolutely did, because usually, like, we may disagree whether we enjoyed it or not, but we both saw the same movie, and to me, this was just not, it didn't succeed, it didn't land in what it was trying to do, and what you guys both saw as something that was really clever, I saw it as kind of, I think, unfortunately, a little bit smug, but gimmicky.
Okay.
I'm not attaching any qualitative statement to clever. I think clever is a quality.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not
Rather than
Alright.
it's neither good nor bad.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay, then yes, it was clever.
Yeah, it has elements of meta. It has a certain pace and style of dialogue. It's stylized in a certain way.
Okay, that's fair. The cleverness didn't work for me
Sure.
in the way that it worked for you guys.
The only part that really didn't work for me in this movie, and I know it was a conscious choice, you talk about smugging and talking directly to the camera.
Sure.
Only one character does that.
Is it
Correct?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No? Who?
Carell never talks to the camera. The only one who does
Ryan
is Ryan
Gosling.
Gosling's character.
Oh, right.
Because
You're
it's
right.
essentially he is telling this story.
his
right? He's
Yeah.
the narrator. He's a framing
Correct.
device. Okay.
And so while I have no problem with that, it is hard sometimes in a complex movie like this to throw a level like that on top of it, where you essentially have one person telling the story, but this story is so big and so many people are telling the story, even though it is one person ultimately telling it, that I question the choice of mugging to the camera with only the one character. If you're going to do that, everybody should be.
Interesting.
That was my
Yep.
that's my
Honestly,
reason to take away.
kind of took that. I just assumed, like in my head canon, that everyone was doing that.
Nope,
so it's
just
cool.
him.
It's interesting that you clarified that.
Yep. Again, it's obviously a choice because they're following the narrator of this, and he's the only one who's being like, oh no, this really happened. Like,
Right.
he's the only one that actually does it. Yeah.
He doesn't have enough screen time to establish him as that. And he says that explicitly at the outset. He's like, I'm a cool guy, I'm gonna step away from all this. But I think you as a viewer kind of lose track of him. Like, he's not a narrative through line, he's just a guy who shows up out of like 20 characters.
Right. And because you get the story from so many different angles, there are the multiple situations where he's in the room but not part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So the conversation. Think about when Steve Carell they're having dinner with the Oriental gentleman. I can't remember. He was
Asian.
Asian.
That's okay.
And he was basically like, I can do whatever the hell I want. You know, I make this, and he's all about the things, the material things. Ryan Gosling's character is 3 tables over watching this, but obviously can't hear the conversation. We, the audience, can hear the conversation, but again, because it's his story, he has to be there to be that filter.
Mm-hmm.
That part didn't work as much for me.
Right.
But anyway.
Okay.
All right, so that was
Right.
super quick.
Very interesting, different takes though. From the three of us.
I am genuinely shocked.
I don't know why. So I had the same feelings when I watched it the first time when it came out in the theaters, and so I was thinking to myself, you know what, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of distance, I'm really looking forward to seeing this again and seeing if I have a different reaction, and I just did not.
Ah.
So.
Well, we'll talk about that more later.
Alright.
All right, moving on to The Martian. The Martian, directed by Ridley Scott, from a screenplay by Drew Goddard, based on Andy Weir's 2011 novel, stars Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Jeff Daniels, Kirsten Wiig, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Sean Bean, Michael Pena, Kate Mara, Sebastian Stan, and Mackenzie Davis. Nominated for a ton of stuff. Best Picture, Actor for Damon, Screenplay, Production Design, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, Visual Effects. Surprisingly, won nothing.
All right, so the summary is, an astronaut stranded on Mars must rely on his ingenuity to survive and arrange a potential rescue.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's the through line. Sure.
There we go.
Summary.
So interesting, obviously this is based on a book. The ending, the epilogue that we see in the movie of kind of what happens to everybody afterwards is not in the book. So the book ends with, Mark is safely taken aboard the capsule and he says this was a perfect day or the best day of my life or something. The end, close the book. So we never really saw what happened to folks afterwards. The other thing that was a fun fact for me, I found it quite enjoyable, was during the disco music that he was playing when he was playing Donna Summer's Hot Stuff, the dance that he did kind of in the place, including the shoulder dip, that was the Full Monty dance. If you guys remember, the dance that the Full Monty guys did was to Hot Stuff, and so he was doing the dance that they were kind of doing in line at the bank tellers when they do the little shoulder dip. So I found that amusing.
That's a deep pull.
That is a deep, deep pull. And then the only other thing I would say is NASA consulted on the movie, but they never charge any amount for their consulting work.
Okay.
So it was all for free.
Yeah, I'd heard that NASA does that, and when they do consult, they never charge because they try often to do the consulting to get people to get the science of things correct.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to come out swinging pretty heavy. I fucking love this movie. I love this movie so much. And it's taken me a while to figure out why. I mean, the casting is perfect. Matt Damon is, and we've talked about this multiple times, him by himself on screen is captivating. We've seen that not work in some other cases, but he can pull that off tremendously. But one of the things that I think I love about this movie so much, and it comes directly from the book, is it makes a conscious choice. Rather than focus on the despair and the peril and overcoming everything, it deals with everything, both in tone as well as the language and the inherent character himself. Everything is done with humor. That is not often something you see in a movie that is so filled with peril. Everything is approached with such a degree of humor. It's offhanded, it's straight out funny at times, and that choice is what I think makes this and elevates this movie above so many others.
We're back. I fucking love this movie. So amen. But I agree with everything that you said, and I've got a lot more to say. But I think just overall it is a very simple premise of this guy needs to get saved. He's been left on Mars, but it's incredibly complex, the science underneath it. And also there's a ton of emotional journeys and emotional performances by both Matt Damon and everybody around him.
Correct.
Has an emotional journey that even if we only have known them for 5 minutes, we know what that journey is and we are there, alongside with him. So lots of reasons to love it that we will talk through, but that's my overall. Alex?
One of the big things about this movie, discursively, was that it was nominated for Best Comedy in the Golden Globes.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
did not
so
know
people
that.
talked about that a lot, and I think that kind of plays into what you were saying, Darryl. It's interesting. It's almost glib in its framing, but that's the movie it is. I think it is a very solid movie that I enjoyed. I've seen it 3 times.
Don't be too effusive now. Don't.
I'm happy to let The Martian be what it is.
Okay.
Which is,
All right.
He doesn't have the love that we have.
So apparently, so you're viewing it as an entertaining film, but maybe not a Best Picture.
I don't think it's
Okay.
swinging for the fences intellectually or emotionally in a way that I would expect a Best Picture to do. I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
That's just a statement of fact.
I was sitting closer
That doesn't
to
make
you
it
on The Big
shallow.
Short. I'm
Right.
now sitting closer to Darryl on The Martian. So yeah.
And I'm going to take not issue with it, but I'm going to 100% disagree with you. I think this movie is absolutely what a Best Picture should strive to be for what it set out to do, its achievement, the way this story is built, the tension that exists, the release of the tension, the way the story flows, the way the characters, like you were saying, the way we get to know characters with very little, the dynamics that everybody has. I think this is close to flawless. So I'm going to disagree.
Let me reframe it slightly. Say, it's just a different kind of Best Picture, if that's the argument you're making.
Okay. So more like what was the Russell Crowe movie that you thought should have been Best Picture that
Master and Commander.
So I saw this as very similar to that, except for I think this is even better. It is thoroughly enjoyable and it has all of those technical pieces as well. And I think this has kind of the emotional journey. You've got 2 pieces. You've got the one-hander with Matt Damon, that he is talking to a camera. He has so much charisma that he is able to really carry that off in a way that James Franco can't. That I would argue, I don't know that Tom Hanks carried it as well.
Yeah.
And then, but it's not just him, because you've got that whole other set and scenario of you've got his team and then you've got the NASA team. So there's 3 movies going on all at the same time. And just Matt Damon, I think the scene where he teared up at hearing his commander's voice for the first time. This is the first time in 2 years he has heard a human voice. And you saw it all playing on his face. You saw, the emotion of his team when they realized they had left their friend behind to die. And they thought he probably still would die a very slow death. And, you saw what was happening in NASA. The guy, Sean Bean, when he felt that he was doing the right thing, he was doing the right, and Jeff Daniels thought it was the wrong thing, and they're, very middle, like 1 scene of dialogue of, I know that you shared this with the team, and you're gonna have to be fired, and okay, but here we are.
Yeah, the way they were able to handle all of the different administrative levels from dealing with the public in just very small, quick scenes, you get the full impact of everything. Sean Bean knows the crew. He knows that once they're told, they're going to make a choice to do everything they can to go back for him, because that's what they do. Jeff's character absolutely can't have that, does not want that. So you get all these quick little scenes, understanding who that person is, what their responsibilities are, and that gets portrayed, and the story is enhanced because of these quick little scenes. The other thing that I think this movie does so well, whether the science is 100% accurate or not, and places it's not, science is another character in this, for sure.
Yeah.
Every time, it becomes part of a joke. You have to understand science. You have to be able to do these things. Science is a necessity. And even if you think you know it, you can still do damage because you don't fully know it. Like, think of the scene where, I blew myself up. He thought he knew what he was doing, didn't, blew everything up. Like, science is such an important factor in this without being pretentious or talking down. It's just there all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I will say it's not a perfect movie. There's a couple of flaws. For me, one of the flaws was just a little how pat the ending was.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when at the beginning as well. So the beginning is they leave him behind for dead because there is no way he could have survived, and so they set up that team very quickly as there are no villains. There is no one. They would have gone for him to the ends of the earth
Right.
if only they knew that he was alive, but they all assumed, and he should have been dead. So like there's no villains in this movie whatsoever. And then at the end as well, the commander being the one to go out and rescue him, it's because she has the guilt of it was her decision to leave him behind. It's a little pat. It's a little easy. I get why they did it because it's a Hollywood movie, but probably that's why the book set it up as well, but I thought that was a little too pat. And also, I just cannot see Kristen Wiig as anything other than a comedic role.
Yeah.
And that's on me. Where are you on Kristen Wiig?
I agree 100%.
You love her.
I do. And
I think she's great.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain dramatic roles that I think she's able to pull off. When she was playing a villain in one of the Wonder Man movies, that was just 100% miscast. But I actually enjoy her in this role, and I think it is her comedic sensibilities that actually allow her to play the character as well as she does, because the character is playing off other people. It's a marketer, something obviously I know a little bit about, so they have to play with what the reality is, what the real information is, try to get everybody on the same page both internally and externally. I thought her balance was perfect.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you look at Jeff Daniels, he had the humor as well.
He did.
Donald Glover, he has a ton of humor in what he's doing. He actually, when he actually really fell and just kept right going in the scene.
Nice.
So he's got a ton of humor as well, but she just didn't carry the serious parts for me as well that I would have liked her to have.
So a couple of fascinating facts for you. Did you ever read the book?
No.
Okay. I haven't either, but Cole, my good friend that you know, has, and he has explained the multitude of differences between the book and the Martian. The principal one being the book goes into ad nauseum about how he basically breaks down mentally by being by himself into full-on despair, like complete delusion. This obviously shies away from that. If they had thrown a lot of that in, it would have been a different movie. It hints at it. It gives you the suggestion of it, just enough to keep the things going, but the book is far more apparently into that. And the whole ending scene with like, I'm gonna Iron Man it, does not exist.
That's what I've heard, yeah. And you can see him breaking down with just the beard and the hair and the disarray and the I'm now a pirate and call me white beard or blonde beard or whatever. You can tell he's going a little over the edge, and then he starts to pull himself together again when he's going to be seeing his team. But I don't think I would have wanted to watch that movie.
No, I think for the movie, and we talk about this all the time, the difference between the book and the movie, they're two different pieces of art. For this movie, that would have detracted from the actual movie to put that in there. So it would, in my estimation, it was a very wise choice not to go down that dark road.
It sets its tone and it stays to it.
It does.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Anything
Last
else?
thoughts?
I think it's a great movie. I just subjectively don't have any hills to die on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Lastly, The Revenant, directed by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, screenplay by Mark L. Smith, based in part on Michael Punke's 2002 novel The Revenant, which describes frontiersman Hugh Glass's experiences in 1823. Stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Domhnall Gleeson, and Will Poulter. A couple other people, but those are really the big four. It was nominated for pretty much everything it can be. Picture, director, actors, supporting for Tom Hardy, cinematography, costume design, film editing, makeup and hairstyling, production design, sound editing, sound mixing, visual effects. It did win for cinematography, which I totally believe it deserves. Best actor for Leonardo. I think that's his first, right?
It's his first win.
Yeah.
I think it was his 5th nomination.
And then Best Director. Did not win Best Picture, so again, one of the rare splits that we see happen. Go with some stuff.
All right, so the summary from IMDb is a frontiersman on a fur trading expedition in the 1820s fights for survival after being mauled by a bear and left for dead by members of his own hunting team. Sure. Yes, lots more than that,
Yeah.
but So a couple of fun facts. It was shot chronologically and mostly only with natural light. The only time they used artificial lighting was during the campfire scene. They put some lighting around the campfire because it wasn't consistent enough to see faces in the way that they wanted to. Other than that, fully natural light. And Sean Penn was actually hired for the Tom Hardy role but had to drop out due to scheduling.
Huh.
I think he would have done great. I would have been interested in this movie with Sean Penn.
Yeah, I think I might have enjoyed it more.
Fair.
I really do. Like, I think Sean he would have definitely played that character slightly differently. I think it wouldn't have been as menacing. It would have been more underneath. So I think I would have enjoyed that.
Alrighty.
All right. This movie is a struggle, only in that it is one of those movies that is just from start to finish, it's just go, 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 go. Very little let up of tension. I think it earns all of the moments. It does a great job of building that tension. I question sometimes why the tension was necessary in certain scenes. But again, they had to fill out and make a complete story, so sure, okay, fine. But it never lets go. The thing that I think the strength of this movie is the choice that they made is to almost film it in that like a video game style, kind of that over the shoulder look. So that no matter where you go, you're seeing multiple things. It's not just single camera shots straight on, so it's a very more narrow focus, wide panoramic, so you can have a guy dying over here, 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 and here because of that over the shoulder kind of look. I think that's the biggest strength of the movie is the way they chose to shoot it.
I would agree with the production and the cinematography, and some of the photography was actually very beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parts of this movie that I appreciate. It is a very much not for me movie, so it's not something I enjoyed or liked, but there's some pieces of it that I think are very, the choices that they make sense. I thought it was far too long. I thought it was a picture that was intended for Leonardo DiCaprio to win an Oscar. So I've got a lot of kind of nits to pick with it, but in general, yeah, sure, it hit some of the marks, but not enough for me to ever want to watch it again.
You literally can't talk about this movie without talking about the relative merits of Leo's performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, just because of the moment it came at, his career, whatever. I've seen it twice, and I watched it last night, and it is a big screen movie. But I was left with the question: is it a you only should see this once movie? It is very long. There are times where I did have to hit pause at home and say, "Oh my goodness, I'm only an hour in. There's another hour and 38 minutes of this thing." I think there are two ways to see it. One is very favorable, one is probably less favorable. I'm surprised that it's not as polarizing as I think it could be. I think it actually could very much be a love it or hate it movie. But I don't hear people talking about it that way.
I think people love the director and love Leonardo so much that it's not as polarizing. So I think that's why. I think it's because of the popularity of the director and the actor in it. The movie itself, I think, is just going to be lost to time. I really do.
I agree.
People don't seem to talk about it much at all.
They don't.
Yeah.
I think, to touch on a point that you said, I think this is a watch it twice movie.
Okay.
The first time is because it is such a ride and you're so braced and you're leaned forward and you're tense for most of it, that there's a lot of things that you can not necessarily pick up on. So you watch it again the second time to see the full scope of the story that is being told. You can see some of the side development of characters. You can see motivation a little bit clearer the second time you watch it. There's more development that is actually happening in this movie than you think from just watching it the one time. That said, you never have to watch it again.
Yeah.
It really, I think you're right. I think it is going to be lost. It's another one of those movies that is incredibly clever. It's celebrated for what it was able to achieve in the moment, but that moment has passed.
I will say too that, so if we're looking at this movie and we're looking at The Martian and Leonardo DiCaprio's performance when he is alone, I am not captivated by. He is, and he is grunting. He is, like trying to move himself over terrain. He is suffering. I don't need that. The powerful pieces were when he was interacting with his son, when he was interacting with Tom Hardy, when he was interacting with Captain Henry. Like, that's maybe my favorite scene, is him sitting with Captain Henry and then talking about their families and like basically revenge and familial bonds and all of those things. Like, I loved that. Him out on his own, I wanted to fast forward through.
The movie,
Totally.
Oh, did you have something?
He was just yeah.
I had a longer comment about that, but I'll let you speak first. I agree. I totally see why it staged itself the way it did. So I could see that, like, it's defensible that it did that. I'd rather see the movie you described.
Fair.
I put this akin to The Walking Dead, the television series. The Walking Dead, if you watched it all the way through, it is an experiment in how much heartbreak a viewer can take. Because constantly characters you love are dying left and right. At least 2 or 3 a season characters you love, they're dying. They're always in bad situations. They're always going through trauma. That is exactly what this movie is. It is trauma from the opening sequence all the way through to the end. It is a study in struggle. It is a study in survival. That is the story that this is telling. So while I agree with you that the grunts and the crawling over terrain is not as captivating, it is necessary for this story that they're telling, because it is a study of survival and struggle. So I see why they're there. Doesn't mean I think that's great.
It's a directorial choice.
Yes,
he's
100%.
letting it play out in real time to underscore how much pain this dude is in.
Yes.
What you described, Darryl, is I think sometimes referred to as misery porn.
Okay.
Yeah. Breaking Bad is often in that discussion.
Okay.
So here comes my next question, which is, how could he actually get through all of this and actually survive? I kind of questioned a little bit. So first of all,
after the bear mauling?
The very first battle, first of all, it's like an old-time Western with Jimmy Stewart, being on top and like everybody's shooting at him and he's fine and everybody around him is getting killed. And so I felt a little bit like that with Leonardo DiCaprio, as the arrows are going through everybody and everyone's getting killed, and he and his son kind of make it through. So I thought that was interesting. And then the bear mauling attack is, how realistic did that look to you guys versus CGI?
Is it a real bear?
Yeah,
No. It was not a real bear.
They had a person in a bear costume for portions of that,
And
but then they enhanced it with CGI. Absolutely. It does not seem 100% realistic. It doesn't seem super CGI to me. I think the way that they kind of framed it and did the mix of the two does make it seem even a little bit more awkward. I think it would have been better like all or nothing.
Yes.
The mixing of the two, I think, is what gives it its awkwardness, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, the bear sequence doesn't hold up particularly well. I, for some reason, had it in my head that it
dead.
He would be dead.
If
He would
it
be
was
so
a-
very dead or eaten.
See, I actually somehow got the idea in my head that it was a real bear, so my assumption was that, it's a bear actor, so it's being gentle and they were speeding up the filming parts.
Oh no.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a real bear probably would have eaten Leo, because
Yes.
he would be giving too many distress signals and he'd just be like, ah.
Well, that's it. Wouldn't the bear have eaten the guy at some point?
Well, so if you remember, the bear attacked because of the cub. It's
Right.
defending its cub, and
So it
then
would back off.
it attacks him,
Shoots
maims him, hurts him, and then goes away. And then Leo, dumbass, shoots it, so
Right.
it comes back for a second time.
Yeah, he would be fine if he hadn't shot it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the second one is even more brutal when it's like on his head. But no, he would have totally bled out. There would have not
Yes.
been enough time for someone to find him and then stitch him up. That would not
Yeah.
have worked. I don't believe. Not a medic from back then, but I can pretty much guarantee he would have bled out.
Well, and especially since he cauterized the wound like 3 days later or
Yeah.
something down by the water when he was, it was certainly a time frame later. So you have to
Yep.
assume that he's been bleeding through his throat the entire time.
Is this How historically accurate is this? It's based on a historical figure who
Yeah.
maybe got attacked by a bear at some point?
I don't know about the bear part of it, but it is
Okay.
the through line, the story being told was something that this gentleman went through or at least recounted in his book.
Okay.
And he said that he was attacked by a bear, but we don't know how brutal the bear attack was.
So that's all extrapolated.
Yes.
It's all cinema. Okay.
Yeah.
The
That makes a big difference.
knowing the production team and the director, though, I'm sure they went for as much historical accuracy as they possibly could.
Mhm.
I don't think they were just winging it. I'm sure they had many people on set who were like, yeah, that's the wrong belt buckle, like that kind of stuff.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But so the production design, the photography, this is all beautiful. It checked a lot of boxes. The story itself just was not told in a way that I particularly loved.
Yeah, it is very similar to Mad Max. It's like get to where you're going.
Yeah.
It's
Fast.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So now we are going to figure out.
We have a bumblebee in the studio.
Oh, nice.
Here.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing there, B?
Distracting.
All right.
If you see our eyes darting around, it's the bee.
So if
Oh, it's
I
a
remember
fly.
correctly, we
Oh,
moved
it's a stink bug.
Stink bug.
Mad Max Spotlight and Room forward from last time.
Yes.
Okay. So out of these four, there are two personally that I would put in to make it to 5. What do
Okay.
you guys think? I would put in Martian and Big Short. Those would be my 2.
I would put in The Martian and The Revenant, not because I liked it, but because of what they did with it.
Sure.
I'll just say The Martian.
Okay.
All right. So let's kick out Revenant and Big Short then,
Let's do it.
because we know we're not going to go for those.
Absolutely. All right.
So, out of Mad Max, Spotlight, Room, Martian, I am going to guess that you, sir, believe Mad Max should have won Best Picture for the year.
Should be correct.
All right.
And can we first say Spotlight actually won?
Yes, sorry,
Yes.
Spotlight won.
Okay.
I'm going to guess that you believe The Martian should have won.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, all right, so don't say it until we both say, I think you think also The Martian should have won.
It's either Martian or Mad Max.
And it is The Martian. I do
All
believe that
right.
The Martian should have won. I honestly think it was the better picture. Mad Max was just so much fun and brilliantly executed. I do strongly believe that it deserved to be nominated, absolutely. But it was a very simple story.
My hot take is this was not a strong year.
No, I
Just
agree.
altogether, I don't think this was a strong year. You were saying the opposite.
I don't. Strong year isn't right quite the way I put it. I think it is a year that was unilaterally pretty good. I can make an argument for any of those movies, even except for maybe Bridge of Spies. Like Bridge of Spies is the only one I'd be like, that's annoying.
We
Yeah.
talk about this occasionally on here, the quality of the year, because in other years there are movies that absolutely should have been, if that movie had come out the same year, it would have absolutely been nominated and quite possibly won.
Right.
Because that year was just such a strong, jam-packed year.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I've been going through the AFI list,
Yeah.
and for our 1970s,
Yeah.
there's only one year where not one or more of the films from the
On the
1970s
AFI list.
are on the AFI list.
That makes
Wow.
sense.
So the reason I wanted to come back to something, Sicario. You've both seen Sicario.
I've never
So
seen
good.
Sicario.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a very strong case that Sicario got snubbed by not being nominated for Best Picture.
100% agree.
That is so incredibly
Great
well
movie.
done.
Great movie.
All right, so I just wanted to throw that out there. That I believe that should have been in and should have been nominated.
And I should watch Sicario.
Yeah, because
What am I learning
honestly,
from this?
if it had and we were talking about it, it would have been a toss-up for me. Martian still would have won, but Sicario would have been a very close second.
I might have picked Sicario over Mad Max.
Yeah, for me, The Martian I picked because it is a really good film and well done, but it's the one I enjoyed the most out of this,
Sure.
and because I didn't think any of them were terrifically strong, I picked the one I liked the best.
There you go. All right. Leave your comments, do the things, all that good kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Thank
So
you.
until next time, see ya!